Existing species on Earth can be invasive, exotic, and native species based on their influence toward the ecosystem. Invasive species can be understood as non-native species in a particular area which can destroy the ecosystem balance. For example, goldfish is an invasive species in Malaysia that causes algae bloom in the river, while native species like Malayan tiger is an originally existing species in Malaysian jungle habitat. In addition, exotic species are introduced into the area other than their native range which poses no harm. So how does invasive species spread? They are mainly spread to the new environment unintentionally through the human activities. They can also be introduced into a certain area through discharge of ballast water into the ocean. Other than that, transportations of goods or natural resources, but also natural pathways such as wind and water interface as vector may also bring them to a new environment. However, the invasive species have created a bunch of impacts toward the human and the respective environment.
Invasive species have a long history and background in Malaysia. According to Invasive Alien Species in Malaysia 2018, we can learn about invasive species that have been introduced in Malaysia. The alien species in Malaysia can be classified into several types, such as fish, mollusks, crustaceans, coral, plant, virus, fungi, insects, and bacteria. There is a lot of types, but today we'll only talk about 5 invasive species in Malaysia. They are red ear slider, water hyacinth, rock pigeon, red palm weevil, and sucker-mouth armor catfish. All these species are introduced in Malaysia, but in different ways. Some are pet trade, some are deliberate release, and commonly are spread by human activities.
Hyconia cassifis is commonly known as water hyacinth. It can grow quickly in a wide variety of aquatic habitats and bloom during the late summer. At first, it was introduced as animals' food. Nowadays, it has become widely spread to new areas and become a popular plant in ponds, gardens, and homes. Overreproduction will bring a lot of negative impacts to Malaysia's ecosystem. First of all, it will denser free-floating plants which will cover the water surface and damage other living organisms compete for sunlight, oxygen, and nutrients. It will also change the ecosystem of native plants and fishes. It has brought huge impacts to the fishermen such as impede boat traffic on rivers.
Sucker-mouth armor catfish is a tropical fish belongs to the Loricariidae family. It is common in tropical community fish tanks. They are characterized by their mouths that are used to suction themselves to rocks, wood, or the sides of the aquarium. Sucker-mouth catfish is native to the rivers of South America, where there are invasive species within the Americas, Asia, and Europe. Most of them were pet release or agriculture escape into the wild. Sucker-mouth catfish are known for their bony plates that look like armor. This species is mainly brown in coloration with darker spots and stripes. They can be found in various types of habitats, from cold, fast-flowing and oxygen-rich highland streams to warm, slow-flowing lowland rivers and low oxygen levels of stagnant pools. The introduction of sucker-mouth catfish into the wild may disrupt the aquatic food chain as it competes with native species for food and habitats, causing the native species to decrease in population.
First, we have Trachymus crypta elegans, commonly known as red ear sliders, which belongs to the class of Reptilia under the Amididae family. They are named for their unique characteristic, with small red strips on the head behind the eyes. Red ear sliders usually live in various freshwater habitats, with their life expectancy could reach about 20 to 40 years. They prefer to live in conditions where the water bodies have large, calm, saltwater waters and abundance of aquatic plants. Besides that, as they are cold-blooded animals, they usually need sun bathing to regulate their body temperature. They are also omnivorous animals, which eat various aquatic plants, insects, snails, fish, carrions, and other small aquatic prey. They originated in the southeastern United States, around the Mississippi rivers and the Gulf of Mexico. In the years of 1970, sliders were mainly used in the pet trade of the United States, and between 1989 and 1997, it was exported in a large quantity to foreign markets. However, these introductions will have adverse effects on humans, organisms, and ecosystems. Red-eared sliders are very aggressive. It will compete with indigenous species for food, spawning, and basking sites, thereby threatening the endangered species and altering the ecosystem. Besides that, red-eared slider act as a carrier for nematodes, which will increase the risk of parasites spreading to native species. Slider is also a reservoir for salmonella, which can cause symptoms such as diarrhea, fever, abdominal cramps, and vomiting.
This invasive species, named Rhacomprus ferruginus by its common name, is red palm weevil. We can know this species by the reddish-brown color of the body and the long curved rostrum or snouts. This species usually inhabit in a trunk of the palm tree where the eggs also been laid there. The reproduction process occurs between males and females where the eggs lay around 204 eggs in average, and the maximum number can reach until 355 eggs while the minimum is 76 eggs.
Next, we have the Columba liva, which is commonly known as feral rock pigeon. Feral rock pigeon is also known as street pigeon in Malaysia. Feral pigeons are classified as the class of aves under the Columbidae family. They usually have grey-coloured body with whitish rump and have a red-coloured feet. They have body length of around 29 to 35 cm and wingspan of around 60 to 68 cm. Pigeon can be easily found in Malaysia, especially in human habitation areas and crowded places such as beside markets, in parks, and on city buildings. Pigeons build their nests using twigs and straw upon holes on walls or spaces within buildings. Pigeons feed on grains and consume insects, but currently in Malaysian cities, we can spot the pigeons feeding on the food waste beside food courts and bread thrown by people on the roadside. They have extremely fast reproduction pace and breed throughout the year without affected by season. Pigeon occupies a large range of area after they are being introduced to non-native countries and causes multiple impacts towards humans in Malaysia. First, for the aspects of hygiene, they are extremely dirty and full of bacteria. They transmit harmful diseases such as pigeonocitosis, salmonella, bacterial infection, and may cause food poisoning in humans.
Since the invasive species have caused a lot of serious impacts in different aspects, therefore we must take action to control and solve the problems together. The solution for the invasive species can be classified into 5 ways, which are prevention, physical control, chemical control, biological control, and education. Identification, detection, and monitor are the most effective ways to prevent the invasive organism from being imported to our country. Moreover, banning the introduction of potentially harmful organisms, stop releasing the invasive species to wildlife. These methods are also efficient to prevent the spreading of invasive organisms. Next, physical control such as trapping, removing, capturing, and eradication are useful to reduce and control the spreading of invasive organisms whenever the plants and animals. Then, the use of chemical agents is efficient and effective to control the invasive organism too. For example, herbicide is used to remove and reduce the invasive plants like the water hyacinth, the insecticide is used to control the weevil, and the ichthyocyte is used for the catfish. However, there are some limitations such as the side effects on the other non-target organisms too. Biological control is the long-term management that introduces the natural enemies of those invasive organisms to control them. For example, the nematode fungi can be introduced to control the population of the red palm weevil. The next is education. The campaign and education program are encouraged to carry out to increase the awareness of the public. The society will learn how to identify the invasive organisms and report the issues to management authority immediately.
As we can see, invasive species are threats to native species and ecosystems. They have been causing chaos on many of our most vulnerable environments, forcing the disappearance of our native plants and animals. So, as individuals, here is what you can do to combat this problem. Never release aquarium fish and plants, larvae or other exotic animals into the wild. Second, pests can be carried by fruits and berries, trees, insects, and animals, and they can become invasive. Clean your bags and boots after each trip and throw out food before moving from one location to another. Third, check to see if the plants you are getting for your greenhouse or yard are invasive. Replace them with non-invasive alternatives. Fourth, clean your boots before hiking in a new location to avoid hitchhiking weeds, seeds, and pathogens. Fifth, volunteer at your local park or other wildlife area to help remove invasive species. Spread awareness or share your story at every platform such as social media. Thank you.